Hello everyone, my name is John Bussart. I'm an HP Solution Center engineer for Ingram Micro. I help support servers, blade systems, storage, as well as networking technology solutions from HP. In this series of videos, we're going to explore the ProLiant Gen9 series of servers. What I like to do in my videos is I like to show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and then present to you what that means within a management interface. Today we're going to do things a little bit different. What I am going to do for you is I'm going to unbox a new DL380 Gen9 server. Gen9 servers, they're going to be based off the Intel Haswell series of processors. So within the system we're looking at today, we're going to be able to have the capabilities of holding two Xeon E5-2600 V3 processors. These processors are kind of nice. They could have from 4 all the way up to 18 cores per processor. And when you consider that you can put two of these processors in, that'll be 36 cores, turn on hyper-threading, that'll be 72 threads per system, so a lot of performance. These new systems also are going to support DDR4 memory, and as you add memory into an HP Gen 9 server, you're going to have the ability to maintain that megahertz worth of RAM. The system that we're going to be looking at today has 24 RAM sockets and supports a total of 768 gigs of RAM. The system also has the capability of supporting 12 gig SAS drives. The server that we're going to be looking at today is going to support 24 small form factor drives in the front or 12 large form factor drives. It also has the capability of holding drives in the back of the system as well. Our DL380 has built onboard 4 1 gig Ethernet connections, but continuing on with the FlexLOM slots that we've seen introduced in the Generation 8 line of servers, we have the ability to add another 4 more 1 gig connections, or actually what I'm seeing a lot of people do is add 10 gig connections inside the environment, so 10 gig Ethernet connections. And you have your choice of either 10 gig fiber-based connections or even the new 10 gig base T connections. So those are RJ45 based 10 gig Ethernet connections. The system supports PCIe 3.0. Our DL380 is going to be equipped with, naturally, it'll be equipped with 3 PCI Express slots, but you have the ability to expand that out to 6 PCI Express slots if you want to. This system is built off the ILO 4 capabilities. This will be version 2 of the ILO 4 capabilities, so you can do things like federated ILO within this system. Also, we'll be looking at UEFI support within this system, so our BIOS will support that, or you could change the BIOS to support the legacy boot mode, but obviously as we move forward, we'll be leaning more and more on UEFI inside our systems. So with that being said, let's unbox our server. Okay everyone, as you can see, this isn't a true unboxing video. I already have opened this up and looked inside, but I put everything back together, so this should be the experience that you get when you open up a DL380 Gen 9 server. So let's take a look. All right. Here's the cable management arm. All right, some documentation. There's the rails themselves, as well as the pieces that go alongside the server itself, so help it lock into place. So some nuts and things like that. Some servers do include the cable management arm. Here is my cable management arm. Hold out. I know it's a pretty standard arm. Looks similar to what I've seen in the past from HP servers. Right. Over here is a bag that includes miscellaneous documentation and cabling. So again, this was a performance model, so I got a few things with this. So I got 2 power supplies. So I get 2 high voltage power cables, and these are the C13 to C14 power cables. I also received my license for ILO Advanced. And then, of course, I get some miscellaneous documentation as well as my Insight Management CD. All right, next, pull out these two pieces of styrofoam. Now I have access to my server. One of the things I'd like to point out here is the information that you'll need to be able to try the Store Virtual VSA. It's a 1 terabyte license. If I remember, last time I had to go through this, I had to plug in the serial number from the server, and it gave me access to the license. Okay. So with that being said, let's pull out the system. Okay, I've taken out my server and I've placed it on its box. Some things I'd like to point out to you from the get-go is there are 2 USB ports on the front of it. There are 2.0 ports as well as a VGA port. So if you didn't want to plug this into a KVM switch, you could certainly have a crash cart with a keyboard, mouse, and monitor on it and plug into it through the front. There is a USB 3.0 port over here as well. Right next to it is your serial number. This system comes configured with an optical drive up front here, as well as 8 small form factor drive bays. Now I do have the option to add extra drives to this system beyond this 8 over here. So in this section I could add an extra drive cage and add 8 more small form factor drives. And I even have the option to add 2 more drives in this location, or replace this whole section and do another 8 drives going across the top. Right? So that'd be 24 drives inside the system, and I even have options to put drives in the back of the system, 2 more in the back of the system, giving me a total of 26 small form factor drives. So I do have options for large form factor configurations as well, and those vary. I could have 4 large form factor drives across the front, right, or 12 large form factor drives across the front, but then it would cover up the entire front. Again, I wouldn't have the ability to do an optical drive. Even with large form factor drives, I have the ability to put some of those drives in the back as well. So a lot of options for being able to put hard drives inside this system. So if you notice that my system came without 2 blanking plates for hard drives, because they kind of expect you to at least put 2 drives in here for RAID level 1. So let's take a look at the drives themselves. Right. So this is the new drive. Right? They started putting these inside the Generation 8 servers, and they've continued on to Generation 9. Right here is your little LED that tells you, a status indicator. If it's green, everything's good. It'll go red if you're not to pull it out. I want to compare this to the Generation 7 drive. Right? As you can see, that the Generation 7 drive is a little bit longer, right? And it's a little bit thinner. You can't really tell it from the video, but these are the drives. All right, so let's take this drive and plug it in. So there's one. Here's another drive. Plug that in as well. And we're good to go. Okay, this is the back of my server. To continue on our conversation about hard drives, right here would be the location where you could add an option to be able to add 2 more small form factor drives to this system. They also have the ability to add 3 large form factor drives that would extend out into this area. So you get 1 over here and then another 2 over in here. Now something you may have noticed already is, because this is a performance-based system, I have the extra riser inside the system, which gives me an extra 3 PCI Express slots in here. So some of the systems don't configure that way, so pay attention. And if you got that large form factor drive expansion, you'd lose the ability to be able to do that in this area. All right, so let's take a look at the power supplies. All right, so these are the new common power supplies. All right, so here's the system. So let's compare that to the drives that come out of a Generation 8 server. As you can see that the new drives are considerably smaller, allowing for a smaller footprint within the server, giving us the ability to do more cool things within the box. The ports across the bottom. Here we have 2 more USB 3.0 ports. Our auto-bound management with ILO, and again remember we have the ILO Advanced license from this guy. I hope to create some videos and show you some of the functionality of that, as well as 4 1 gig connections and a VGA port. So a lot of the systems have been coming with, obviously, with the 4 1 gig connections here because they're integrated on the motherboard, but you have the ability to change out the flex LOM, which would be this area, into pretty much whatever you want. So this system here, because it's a performance model, comes with two 10 gig based T connections. So these would be RJ45 based 10 gig connections. Just make sure your cable supports that type of speed. But there's a variety of options. A lot of the pre-configured systems I've seen, again, have come with these 4 1 gig ports as well as another 4 1 gig ports over in this area. Alright, this is the top of our server. This is the front of the system. And this is the back of the system. Here's the little pull tab. You kind of pull that back a little bit. The case slides, the top slides back a little bit, and then we could take off our cover. I'm also going to remove the air baffle here so we can get a little bit better view inside the system. Anything inside this case that has a blue tab on it, that will be a cold pluggable device, toolless though. And anything with a port wine color, like the front of the hard drives, will be hot pluggable. So while this system was on, I could yank out a fan. That's what a fan looks like inside the system. Right, or if I needed, while the system was off, if I needed to remove the entire tray, I could pull that out like that. Some things to point out is over here is your micro SD card slot. So if you wanted to boot your VMware server from a micro SD card, you could certainly do that here. There's some USB ports, as well as the shared battery for your RAID controller cache. Right, and that connects right to the motherboard. And that currently is supporting this RAID controller back here. Right, let's pop out a RAM module. So this is DDR4 based memory. And it might be tough to see on the video, but it is curved just a little bit on the bottom. And it bows just a little bit. That's the way DDR4 memory is being made. Pop that back in there. We'll take out our riser. This is our extra 3 PCI Express slots that we can add onto a system. Take that out and set it aside. These are the 3 PCI Express slots that come naturally with the system. Again, toolless removal. This is a dual processor based system. Again, it was a performance model. Here is my Flex LOM adapter. If you remember, I pointed this on the back of the system. This is my adapter that supports 10 gig base T. Alright, I'll pop that out for you guys. Comes out pretty easily. Alright, there's the card. There's the front of it. Now there are other options for cards inside this system, so certainly I could do something like add a fiber channel base card. This is a little bit older one, but I put my SFP inside here, so I was sporting 10 gig based fiber based. I can put the SFPs in there and I pop that into that slot. Or what a lot of the systems are coming with is an extra 4-port 1 gig adapter. So this is the 331 FLR. So with this card in there, the system will have a total of 8 1 gig ports. That's pretty neat. Alright, so if I was going to pop that guy back in, put him over here. And he goes right back in. Oops. And we'll tighten him down. Right. So this here is an upgraded RAID controller. Again, it comes with the performance model. This is a 440AR smart array adapter. It comes out with 3 screws, 3 thumb screws, and there's 2 little rubber risers that are here. So we'll take this out real quick and I'll set those there. We'll pop this guy out. So again, this is a 440AR adapter. There are options currently for lower end adapters if you wanted to have them. Pop that guy back in there. Screw it down. Put in my 2 rubber risers. One goes there, the other one goes over here. we'll put back in my first PCI Express riser board. We'll put in our fan tray as well as the extra fan that I removed. Now I'll say with this riser, maybe I wanted to add an extra PCI Express card to this, so something like an Emulux fiber channel adapter, which I have here. This is a 16 gig fiber channel Emulux adapter, so I'll set this guy down here. Pop that out, and then we'll slip in our card. Lock it down, and then we'll slip it into the slot. Push it down, and don't forget to put your air baffle back on. Right. And then we can put our cover back on. So in this case, we disassembled and reassembled, or made upgrades to our system, and then put it all back together. Again, without any tools or anything, we were able to kind of do these upgrades or manipulate the server or take apart the server. Right. I hope to show you some more about the server. I'm going to do some installations on it and record those as well. But I hope you got a lot out of this video, and please stay tuned for more videos.